platform. We will be starting right now. We do have one candidate. So we will be going into the 3-minute platform and then straight into the Q&A right after. So I'll pass it over.
Hello everybody, my name is Arvin Limjoco. I'm a second-year data science major, a proud Simpline mentor and mentee, a proud Louisianeer, and your very own Fusion treasure. But today, I'm coming to you not as a board member, but as your next candidate for external vice president. So to me, Fusion is so much more than a Filipino STEM organization. It's a place of growth, it's a place of compassion, it's a place of community. A melting pot of aspirations. I believe Fusion can be so much more than what it is. A place where professional powerhouse and a social space exists. And to me, I would do anything and fight it to defend it. And it would be awesome if I could be the one to help that grow. But first, let's get into some logistics. The external vice president is responsible for managing collaborations with all other organizations. They are also responsible for attending any meetings, resolving conflicts, and providing community service opportunities to members. Now, what drew me to Fusion initially was its welcoming nature. And that's something I want to pass on to other organizations. And that's going to be with my Alianza Ally program. So the idea is pretty simple. So imagine you go to one of the other Alianza organizations and you just wish you had someone there. Like, let's say you pull up to a PUSO meeting and you're like, oh man, I wish there was someone here with me. But, so here we have it. Through this program, you'll be accompanied by other Fusion members so that not only you'll get support from someone from your club, but you'll be able to connect and bond with other Alianza organizations. Now you may ask, Arvin, isn't that a little too social? Well, to that I say no, but rather a complement to Fusion's growing professional network. Now, what I plan to do with EVP is create some restructural changes. So I envision the role to be something that is the forefront of managing collaborations with other affiliations, other organizations, and above all, corporations. So imagine a Fusion sponsorship package. With this package comes bronze, silver, gold tiers. Now, with these tiers, we offer companies things such as viewership within our general meeting, our slides, or even on the Fusion t-shirt. Now, wouldn't that be awesome? Now, in exchange, we'll get funding for our club, possible mentorship, and supplies. That way, we garner future relationships with big corporations and create opportunities for our general members. And that's just not even it. Collaborations with other clubs, including the Southeast Asian Student Association, or even engineering organizations, such as the American Student Association of Civil Engineers. But the overall goal is your best interests. Your best interests are my best interests. To me, external vice president is so much more than a point of communication. It is the epitome of reaching out to build connections, reaching out to create opportunities, and above all, a face to reach out to. As of today, my first task is reaching out to you. And just reach out for your support and your trust. Not only help Fusion become its best self, but also to allow Fusion to make steps towards a better future. I want to thank you for your time and consideration. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you. Arvin.
This is the QR code, and then from there, we'll be asking your questions as they come along. And then you can keep them. The length of this Q&A question will be 15 minutes long to combine for individual input. seconds for the questions to come in and then we'll begin. For your first question, do you have any plans to improve relations with Alianza or any other external orders, including SOAR, PASE, or etc.?
Oh, yes. So what I love about this question is definitely something I want to focus on is keeping communication consistent and transparent with other Alianza orgs. Something that I really wanted to do was, at the very beginning of the year, is just create group chats with every single position that relates to other positions in all the other Alianza orgs. I think something really important to understand coming from these positions is that a lot of these people are coming into these roles for the very first time. And I think it's really important that we navigate these roles together as Alianza, share ideas. Let's say there's a conflict on Ring Road and you really need something for our fundraiser. Well, you can reach out to other Alianza orgs. There will be a group chat dedicated to fundraising. Or maybe you have a social coming up and you need ideas for collaborations. I think that's something I really want to incorporate this year, just so that everything is efficient and smooth.
For your next question, you emphasize increasing corporate outreach, and as that is something that has only been started to explore in Fusion this year, how do you see your role in working with the future networking directors in making this goal happen?
So definitely what I envision the role as is taking more on a managerial position. Instead, it'll be working with networking and whoever else is deemed necessary to not only reach out to these corporations, but also to help manage relations with those corporations. I understand that EDP is a role that takes a lot of time and dedication, especially the amount of meetings it has to dedicate for. So being a managerial role will allow not only for a smoother process, but allow communication across the board.
For your next question, how do you intend to manage all of the affiliation requirements from the sectors that Fusion affiliates with, such as SOAR and the CCC, and do you intend to add more affiliations to that list?
So, as for affiliations with the SOAR and CCC, I do have current experience with this. As treasurer, I've talked to some of the people at SOAR, especially when it came to things like the RSIT budget. So I can confidently say I'd be able to manage those relations pretty well. In terms of adding new affiliations, definitely something I'm trying to get into research about is our ICS affiliation probably, just so that we have something able to fund and back up our ICS project. Because a lot of what happened that I saw this year was there were a lot of funds being dedicated to our engineering project, but it seemed to me that the ICS project was struggling at times with how much did this cost, or do we need funds for this? And I really want to make sure that both of these projects in Fusion can be something that are super strong.
Given that the EVP position is very in touch with the Alianza organization and the umbrella as a whole, what does Alianza mean to you?
Oh, okay. So Alianza to me, it's not just a place, or it's an umbrella organization at its surface level, but it's more so a place that unites all of us together. I understand that the school has a lot of different majors. We're coming from a lot of different backgrounds. To have an umbrella organization like Alianza, it allows us to not just build and connect on our experiences, but allows us to grow together in this college time. College is a scary thing, and as Filipinos who come from very different backgrounds, or non-Filipinos of course, we like to be inclusive, but it's important to understand that Alianza is always like a welcoming space, and I've seen what this year's Alianza board does. Shout out Alianza, you guys are awesome. But I think to me, Alianzas should always, they have this really welcoming atmosphere, and I think that's something I always want to keep going forward.
As EVP, how will you represent Fusion within UCS engineering and maybe even ICS school and uplifting the professional pillar?
In terms of uplifting the professional pillar within both engineering and the ICS school, I'm definitely more focused on keeping track of all opportunities that these schools could have. And I do understand that as these opportunities come out, sometimes Fusion members not be able to make these. There's such a thing as overwhelming amount of opportunities. And I think it's important to understand that as you navigate throughout the year, it's important to understand which opportunities can our members go through and which opportunities our members cannot. So in regards to that question, I think it's important to understand that, sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yes. As EVP, how will you represent Fusion within UCI's engineering or maybe even ICS school and also Fusion professional?
Oh, yes. In terms of the professional pillar, I really want to create those professional building opportunities. Networking is such a strong skill, and it's something we always encourage, especially LinkedIn and all of those. And I think that's something we want our members to focus on next year. So definitely surrounding our programs around building our professional network within those communities.
As the current treasurer, you're also serving on executive board. And with that being said, given that you may be serving as EVP for the next year, how will you avoid burnout when being on executive board for a second year?
In terms of burnout, I think I'm really proud to call Fusion a space that has always been something very special to me. And I think burnout, I'll say that this year was definitely a learning process, especially coming from someone who jumped onto exec board. And a really important lesson that I learned this year was it's okay to ask for help. And that's really something that everyone should learn, especially when it comes to burnout. It's okay to learn to ask for help. And especially with the amount of people in this club that I really cherish and treasure, I think that's really important to understand that you're doing it for the people. That should make you.
My next question for you is another aspect of being EVP includes the affiliation with external organizations such as PIEs. What is your vision in maintaining and drafting new connections with these organizations?
Oh, yes. So I actually do have some cousins that are in other Filipino orgs across SoCal, and I was really hoping to bridge the gap between not just growing our connection with PIEs, but other Filipino organizations across SoCal. It would be a really good networking opportunity, but also just a really good way to bond with people of similar experiences that they've gone through, and above all, unite the Filipino community.
And for your next question, Pasay has been wanting to deepen its relationship with Fusion to provide mentorship to students and offer professional networking opportunities. Do you have any plans to connect with Pasay, and how do you plan to increase Fusion's presence within this organization?
I think for me, what the best way to connect with Pasay would be is to have some sort of mentorship or some sort of panel program with Pasay. I've talked to Pasay personally, and they're so experienced. It's actually I would consider one of our best resources as Fusion. And I think that's something we really want to keep because after I talked to them, they had a lot of interest in not just our organization, but other Filipino organizations. And I think they could share how to connect with people, how they built their organization from the ground up. And I really see them benefiting our Fusion members by providing some really awesome advice on how to tackle this growing engineering field. Woo!
So, as being EVP, we are associated with the School of Engineering. We are also recognized as an ESL by the school, but our reputation with them is more of a STEM club rather than an engineering one. Do you have any plans on improving our external relations and reputations within these ESLs?
I do see that ESO can definitely become a time commitment, and as mentioned previously, the more opportunities that we have, there can be such thing as an opportunity overload. I think it's very valuable to have ESO as a connection, because not only do they provide us funding, but a lot of these engineers have a lot of great ideas that me personally, I've attended some of the other meetings, but I think In terms of club collaboration, I'd like to definitely associate with them more in terms of socials or networking events as such.
For your next question, with the current administration rolling back on DEI initiatives, how do you plan to navigate this change as you reach out to and network with companies in the upcoming year?
So important. So in terms of outreach, I think it's really important to understand that it's sort of like a five-year relationship. Sometimes you'll face no, sometimes you'll face yes, sometimes you'll get a maybe, sometimes you'll get no.
For your next question, the EVP position is constitutionally the third most powerful board member in Fusion. And with that being said, it is one of the sole board members that upholds the cultural code. How will you deliver this position with professionalism, political correctness, and dedication towards our members and becoming more in tune with our culture?
Especially when it comes to culture, it's important that we get the cultural sensitivity of things right. It's important to have the right information, and definitely working with the cultural role on board is a key aspect that I want to have, going back into the managerial position of how I want EVP to be. But, sorry, could you repeat the first part?
Well, how will you deliver this position with the professionalism, political correctness, and dedication towards our members and becoming more in tune with our culture?
Oh, yes. So, as previously mentioned, I wanted to create more transparent communication with other orgs. I think really being clear on what cultures, how culture should be represented could go a long way. So with that, I plan to create more transparent communication with other Alianza orgs on, is this right, is this correct, is this how we should be representing things? It's okay to get peer feedback on the political correctness of our culture.
As said in your platform, you talked a little bit about the Alliance program. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this and how you would
How the system will work?
yeah,
Oh, yes. So the Allianza Ally Program, essentially it's a way for our general members to communicate whether, hey, I'm going to go to the PUSA general meeting this week, or hey, I'm going to pull up to PASS, or hey, I'm going to pull up to CABA. I think that's a really great way for our members to understand that they don't have to be alone when discovering our Alianza space. And with that, they'll be able to not only meet up with these members, and given that these general meetings have icebreakers, they'll be split up to avoid clickiness, and also they'll probably build connections with more Alianza people in that scenario.
For your next question, can you please critique the previous or the current position holder?
Ooh, I just did. So in terms of critiques, I think definitely, as I said in my platform before, I really wanted our board to be connected with a lot of our other affiliated Alianza boards. I think definitely, apart from the communication thing, I think Alianza could definitely spend a lot more time together, not just like the organizations as a whole, but the board itself. Because as previously mentioned, we're all navigating these new roles and how we can build build around such a challenging time. You know, we had first to the CCC where we may not have gotten the Dr. White room for the next year or the ring room. And I think it's really important that we come together as organizations to be the forefront against building a better future for not just Fusion, but all of Alianza itself.
This is your last question, so feel free to really think about it, take it in, have some time to evaluate how you feel about it. But for your last question, if
group chat. Sam, what do we think? What do we think, Sam?